Hey everyone, Xeon over here from Nintendo Life. Back at Summer Game Fest, our staff writer Ollie Reynolds and I got to go hands-on with Disney Illusion Island, an upcoming Nintendo Switch exclusive platformer from Dalala Studios, which is the same team that brought Battletoads back to Xbox. We got to play the game for over a half an hour, and during our time with it, we were able to interview the lead developer on the game, AJ-Grand Scrutton, and we learned how they essentially are trying to make a family-friendly Metroidvania, where you can still scale the difficulty to your playstyle. AJ was a blast to hang out with, and even though we weren't able to capture direct feed gameplay, we still hope you enjoy this chat that we had with him. We learned a lot, and we're genuinely excited to get our hands on the full game as soon as we can.
Yeah, so they're all kind of at a base level, their stats are all the same run speed, same jumps. Yeah. But what we've done is we've kind of animated the difference in. So we use like a toy analogy for each character. So like Mickey's a bouncing ball, Minnie's a paper airplane, Donald's a slingshot, Goofy has a slinky. And then the animation team used that reference for when they develop their animations. Yeah. So you'll see like when Goofy's running, he's quite like floppy and lumbering, and he looks slower, but actually he's running the exact same speed. So every time you go into the game, whether it's a new game or an existing game, you can select your starting health, and you can start on 3 hearts, 2 hearts, 1, or if you want, you can actually start on infinite health, so you don't ever die. And that's in there from the start of the game. So what you're seeing here is like it's still quite early in the game, but if you imagine like we've done the first starting area, you've unlocked your first 2 abilities, which is boost jump, which is kind of like a horizontal double jump, and wall jump, which is a traditional wall jump. The overall kind of mission of the game is, you know, these 3 book thieves have stolen these magical books and we're trying to retrieve them. But what our quest is at this point is we're coming into this new area called Gizmopolis, and we're trying to locate a character called Uncle Steve.
Is this kind of like a new universe of where does the story come from?
Yeah, sure. So the way to view it is, you know, it's Mickey, Minnie, Donald and Goofy as you know them, but it's a brand new island called Monoth, and everyone else in the game is a brand new character.
Nice.
Oh, somebody want to go exploring? Is that you, Donald?
Yes.
Are you showing off the hidden area?
Yes.
Yeah, the animation looks similar to those like Mickey shorts that are on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, so like they're awesome. Obviously the games, we're not related at all to the shorts, but I think what's quite funny is like, I think we're both influenced very much by the same era of Mickey cartoons. Yeah. So like those classic 30s and 40s, the white-faced version of Mickey when he was quite cheeky. So I think we've got kind of like a lot in common from an influence perspective with those. So one of the other things we get in multiplayer is we have multiplayer-only abilities. So if somebody wants to hold down Y or West, and then another person goes, oh, so somebody's doing rope drop. So if you hold down on that, and then if we jump on it and press the West button, we can climb up the rope.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And if you just stand still when someone holds it down, you see Goofy's doing that, and then you can hug, and you both get temporary health. And you can hug each other as much as you want, so you can just hug all day long if you want.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And Y and down on the edge of a platform is what drops the rope, and then jumping and pressing Y on the rope will climb it.
Ah, awesome.
And then there's a funny little one, which is if someone crouches, so holds down, and someone else runs and then jumps, you do like a leapfrog jump, which gets you a bit further. You press it at the right moment, there you go.
Nice.
There you go, so Minnie just did
awesome.
hers.
That's so cool.
How long have you and the team been working on this?
So we literally we finished Battletoads, and then the team had 2 weeks off. I started writing it, and then they came back and we started making it. So really end of like 2020 we started it, and that was obviously pre-production.
That's amazing that you were just able to just roll like right into such an incredible like project right away as well, right after Battletoads.
Absolute honour, like getting to work with these characters, and you know we've got there's in-game cutscenes, but there's also like fully animated 2D cartoon cutscenes we've done, and they're fully voiced by the authentic voice cast. So it's like the actual Mickey, Minnie, Donald and Goofy, and like Bill Farmer who plays Goofy and Tony and Sommer who's Donald have been those characters since like the mid to late 80s. Yeah. So like it's the Goofy and Donald we grew up with. Oh cool, so someone just got one of our collectibles up here, which is called Mickey Memorabilia. So what they are is they're just fun little collectibles which are like an homage to Mickey's past.
That's amazing.
So you'll see like we've got like plushy versions of characters and props, and that goes all the way back to Steamboat Willie and then all the way forward to the modern shorts. Nice. So there's stuff in there from those shorts you've seen, like Potato Land and stuff. And there's a pair of Pete's underpants, of course.
Are there any abilities to kind of change costumes or?
No, so there's no alternative costumes. One of the, and talking a little bit about how the sausage is made here, one of the things about doing hand-keyed animation is if we ever wanted to change the costume, we'd have to change every frame of animation we've done.
Yeah, you know, I think the developers of Shredder's Revenge have the same thing.
Yeah. You know, for us, there is there's probably tens of thousands of frames of animation in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
How tough was it to settle on a certain art style then as well? Like, did you go through a lot of revisions to make sure you had it just right?
Yeah, it was really like an explorative process. So what we did with this game, and it was a bit similar to Battletoads to be honest, is we almost started with the characters. So like we figured out what we wanted the character design to be. So Lucy, who art directed this game, was also our lead character designer. And once we kind of nailed what the feel of the characters was and what it looked like, then we started thinking about, okay, well, what approach do we want with the world? And we knew we wanted the characters to feel like they fit in the world, but we kind of loved that classic cartoon thing of where, you know, the characters are very like traditionally flat painted and the backgrounds have a little bit more like texture to them, a little bit more painterly. But yeah, like we did a lot of exploration. A lot of the early time was spent around like shape language. So you'll see like a lot of repeated shapes we use. A silly example is like Goofy. So if you look at Goofy's feet, they're the same shape as his face. So there's like a lot of repeat shape language we use. There's actual moustaches, and you'll see that same shape on like trees and things like this. The art team just did a wonderful job, and then they got some weird briefs from me. Like I really wanted this area, Gizmopolis, to be like a hodgepodge, Wallace and Gromit style, Rube Goldberg-y, like weird inventions. So they had to think about, okay, what's all the kind of like one person's trash is another person's platform they could do here. There's a moustache there that's made out of paintbrushes.
I love the animation though. I keep ducking as Mickey, and you can see his ears kind of detaching from his head. It's so cool.
Yeah, they've actually all got like the old school style idle interrupts as well. So like if your character's standing still for, I think it's like 30 seconds, they'll play like a bespoke animation.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that you have like the hanging like animation as well off the edge. It's like one of my favorite things.
Goofy's got a fantastic one.
Oh wow.
They're such like fun characters though, like, you know, the animation team are amazing. They've done such a great job with this, but like it's so easy to think of fun things to do with the characters because they are just innately fun.
Yeah. So it seems very focused on platforming. Do you see this as a Metroidvania at all, or?
Yeah, I think structurally it's 100% Metroidvania, right? Like, you know, we're not level based. If you look at the map, like this is just a small section. Like it is all one. It's just one big seamless world, and this is just two little sections of the game. So like, unless you choose to, and I won't give you spoilers how, once you get in past the initial load when you turn the game on, there's no loading. It is just a completely seamless experience. So yeah, like, so you'll find lots of little secrets and areas you can't get to yet that you can come back to with a backtrack. And then, oh, sorry, Minnie, I'm just going to selfishly put us over here. And then there's a little healing pool, little nook here that gives us a nice zoom in and we can get our health back.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice.
So yeah, very much structurally we're a Metroidvania, but you know, there's no combat in the game. We are a platform game at its heart. One of Grant's design team called Liam, you know, he used a very not marketing friendly term, open world multiplayer platformer. And that really helped us internally to like communicate to the team what we were making. Like, this isn't a game about combat. It's not a game necessarily about like, you know, Tomb Raider style puzzles or Zelda style shrines. This is a game about the joy of movement and absolutely loving platforming.
Do you think there's an easy answer to what you and the team drew inspiration from, even with like your past Battletoads game as well and this?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of areas, right? Like, from a games perspective, you know, we love the classic Disney games. You know, we love obviously Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, Mickey Mania, Magical Quest. Obviously, we also love stuff like Aladdin, Jungle Book. But like, we also love stuff like Rayman Legends, which I think is just one of the greatest platformers ever made. Yeah. Ori, you know, I don't really get on with Metroidvanias, but I found Ori really enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then like, Mickey's near 100-year history, right? Like, you know, the start of this project, all I did was watch everything Mickey's ever been in, read all the books again, made sure that I could live and breathe Mickey, and you get a lot of natural inspiration from that. And then we kind of, I think each generation of game developers, you see the media they grew up with, and like, you know, for like our friends who did Earthworm Jim, you see the Tex Avery and the classic stuff in there, right? And I think with our stuff like this and Battletoads, you see like that classic Cartoon Network as well as the Disney influence, like, you know, that cheeky humour that maybe kids necessarily don't get exposed to as much nowadays on the channels. So I think it's like a mixing bowl of all of that hot pot, if you will, of all kind of the stuff we loved growing up, because, you know, you're not meant to make games for yourself, but I think to an extent you're always making games for like your 9-year-old self. Like, what I loved World of Illusion, what does someone who is at that same point in their life love now?
So I noticed before as well, I think they're gone now, but I think it was Mickey and Minnie had a gold heart as well.
So that's what you get for hugging.
Oh right, got you.
So if you hug, you get that, and you have that until you take a hit. Donald won't get it because Donald's got infinite health. Nice. And with our health pickups as well, if one person collects a heart, everyone on the team gets a heart back.
Nice,
yeah, we did. We didn't want the classic Streets of Rage fighting over a roast chicken, and believe me, there's a time and a place for that. But it wasn't what we were kind of going for with this. A big thing for us, right, is that we wanted to make a game for platform fans. At its core, this is a game where it scopes the challenge scales. It is a game for platform fans, but we wanted to give options that make it welcoming. So when we did user testing, whilst a lot of our user testing was focused on 18 plus players, we had family groups, and those family groups were very much parents, teen or tween kid, and then a younger kid. And it went really well, and like, what was interesting was the scores for those groups went up very high once we told them about rope drop. So once they knew that rope drop and hug were in there, suddenly those families were finding the experience a lot easier, and, you know, it meant that the parents who love games could still do all the platforming challenge, but that the kids didn't have to necessarily be able to get past every single challenge. Oh yeah, so if anybody goes off screen, you get put in an envelope, similar to like Rayman's bubble. Oh, so we need to go, so if we look, so you can see kind of here, this area is like partially revealed. Oh yeah. So we want to kind of head down there.
I love how Mickey brings out like a pencil when he's...
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was nice to kind of lean into all the very cartoony stuff, especially for Mickey. Like, one of our pillars for the project was playable cartoon. Like, we wanted to make sure it felt like you were playing a cartoon, and Mickey's just a lot of fun for that. Goofy, all his abilities are like food related. So like, he has a chili pepper double jump, and then when he wall grabs, he has like a big pasta fork.
Oh yeah, so now that you and I have been knocked out, how do we get back in?
We don't, that's it now. No, I'm joking.
Awesome, good game.
So next time a checkpoint's on screen, any checkpoint, our little envelopes will be hovering by it. So I think there's one right out here.
And that's what the mailboxes were?
Yeah, the mailboxes are the checkpoints, yeah. So you're never out of the game very long. So like, yeah, if they come over here and pop and see us, we'll pop out of our envelopes. Sure. So now that we've collected all the free keys, we can kind of go back to this door we saw earlier. Awesome. What's been really interesting and really nice for us to see when we've been here for the last couple of days is sometimes when we did like internal playtests towards the end, the person with the camera would be a bit of a beast and they'd maybe run ahead and leave people behind. But all the people playing the game for the first time are like naturally waiting for their team to catch up, and it's been so nice to see. So we have some settings as well, so like you can actually turn it on so if when you climb the rope you don't have to press the button, you just have to touch it.
Okay, cool.
And we've got other settings that let you, like, if you press double jump too early, we cache it and then do it at the optimum moment. Like, we try to add as many options as we can to make the experience welcoming. And it allowed us to kind of keep the challenge at a good level for core players in the game, but give those options to help kind of younger players or, you know, differently abled players to enjoy it.
This game doesn't really have combat?
No combat,
right?
yeah.
So do you have, what sort of things do you have that like kind of change up the, you know, like a game like this would normally have bosses or some type of...
So you're actually going to see kind of a boss interaction in just a second. So this is like an in-game cutscene. So these ones are like they've got the voice actors, but they're mainly like emotes and like on-screen text. And then we have like the full hand animated like 2D ones as well, which are fully voiced. What's a real shame is you can't hear the music at the moment. So our composer Dave Houston's done a big like 90-minute full orchestral live orchestra score. Flew over to Nashville and recorded it there with a full live orchestra. And it's this beautiful like Disney parks, Disney feature inspired soundtrack.
There it is. That's great. Right behind you. Oh, that was good. Have you seen Sora? Do these sort of like bosses as well have individual voices too?
Yeah, so any of them that appear in like the fully, they all have, everyone has grunts and efforts. And then any character that's in the big cutscenes also has full voice.
Nice.
And that was great. So this character, for instance, we got to use Kocha Engler, who did one of our characters in Battletoads. So we got to kind of bring her back and kind of do another voice for us, which was lovely. Cool. So yes, this is our interpretation of what a boss fight is you're going to see now. So there's no combat, and what it is about is utilising those abilities and the mechanics that you've been playing within the level. That's Grant, our lead designer over there, by the way, who's sticking his head around the corner. So if you really don't like the boss fight, blame Grant, because I think this was one of his. Or was all the bosses yours? So we kept having these moments where we'd have like a milestone delivery. Grant would film like boss footage, and he'd like finish the boss in like 5 minutes, and he'd send it to Kelsey, and then Kelsey would call me up like the next day and be like, that boss took me 90 minutes. Who recorded that footage? So like in single player, like it's very, you can find really cool rhythms and like link all the jumps together.
Yeah.
And then in like, 2, 3, 4 player, it's kind of all about that quick, frantic kind of teamwork.
Does the boss, like the layout of everything, actually change?
No, so the only things that change are we've done bespoke camera framings for every area in the game based on the amount of players. So when you play single player, you'll see the camera's more zoomed in quite a lot. Because we don't have to worry so much about giving you space to not go off screen.
Okay.
I think because this game is so pleasant, the red things that are falling down from the ceiling, I was like, should I touch those?
If I don't stop, Mickey can.
Yeah, that's pretty cruel. Our friends have come to play with us and you're not popping their envelope. Well, Kelsey needs a little bit of media training, I think. We went over to experience Disney's Illusion Island. However, the producer from Disney didn't allow us to play.
Ways to play with your friends.
Oh, look, I'm dead now.
No, it's authentic. That's what it is.
Do you have anybody, or even you yourself, on the team that worked on like other 3D or 2D platformers from, I guess, years past?
Yeah, so our animation director, Eric, his first job was cleaning up the line work on Earthworm Jim 1 and 2.
Oh.
And like, yeah, kind of we've got people working with us now as well, like Ed Schofield and Mike Dietz, and both of those guys like worked on like Aladdin, Jungle Book, like all the early stuff, like, yeah, and that's the same, they're the guys who kind of did our designs for the Toads in Battletoads, and yeah, like, I can't draw at all. I mean, I literally can't draw at all, but I'm obsessed with cartoons and all the classic 2D games, and it's been so lovely to like get to work with those guys and call them friends. And but yeah, like Eric's been going like, oh god, like 25 years he's been in the industry now, and he loves the fact that like he went off and he did 3D and he did lots of big games for like THQ and people like that, and then somehow he ended up leaving California, coming to this tiny studio in Essex, England, making 2D games again like Battletoads and this.
Yeah.
And what's the goal of like, taking down the bosses and like the book that's in front of them there?
Yeah, so the main goal is like you're trying to recover these books for a character called Toku, because they're Toku and the Hokans are the guardians of these books, and they've been stolen, and it's kind of putting Monarch in jeopardy. And what you also discover is as you get these books back, they all have like magical properties, and you get to do these interactions in the game world which completely change areas of the world by using those books.
Speaking of like the hardcore gamers, I guess, as well, or even people like speedrunners, are you taking things like that into consideration to like allow sequence breaks? And
We're quite tight on sequence breaks, but there were a few things which got logged as bugs that Grant, myself and my tech director sat down and we looked at them and we said like, I think speedrunners will like this bug if they find it, so we left it in. So there's a couple of deliberate things in there. Because I'm desperate, like, I would love to see group speedruns on this, because so many of the little areas, like those single screen camera lock areas, there's like things all 4 of you can do at once. So like seeing people finding the optimum routes, like I'm really excited for that. Grant and I quite often do like 1 heart runs where we're trying to be like really cool, and then we spend the whole time just hugging, desperate for extra health. But I also want to be able to play it with my nephews and nieces and turn them on to infinite heart so that they don't beat me up because they keep dying. So yeah, I think that's the big one for us. Like, this is a platform game for platform fans, but the options are there for all types of gamers to enjoy the experience.